Welcome to this series on getting started with xHighlight. We will look at how to start your project, key tools, and how to export your project, along with useful tips and tricks to optimize your workflow. xHighlight is a 3D experience application that creates technical documentation for your projects. This series is divided into 4 parts. Part 1, setting up your xHighlight project and user interface. Part 2, basic techniques. Part 3, adding detail, and Part 4, how to publish your project. To start your xHighlight project, navigate to the xHighlight app from the Compass tool. In the Compass, you can favourite different apps. To make our workflow easier, we will favourite the xHighlight app. Then we'll launch xHighlight. We can collapse down the Compass once the xHighlight app has been launched. Once launched, you can begin to import any 3D XML file stored on the platform. To do this, select New, and then select the product you are going to create the presentation for. Make sure to save to the appropriate location. When xHighlight opens for the first time, it launches you into a default position. Let's look in more detail at the user interface. The main canvas area shows you what is being displayed for your scene. Towards the right-hand side is where all of your scenes are captured and stored for each project. To the left of the graphics area, you have your property pane. You can access properties for the canvas size, allowing each scene to be unique and even adapt to different devices. As you can see, you can create a variety of canvas sizes, even adapting your projects for mobile phone usage. You can even create custom side canvases using the custom edit icon. Ambiences allow you to change the background and environmental lighting of the project. You can directly change the name of your ambiences once you've added them to the project. You can then save them to the 3D space so other users can reuse these ambiences in future projects. In background, you can use a source file such as a JPEG to replace and create a new ambient scene. Map 360 allows you to wrap your JPEG around your scene so it looks as though the product is set in a real-world environment. Also in the Background tab, you can adjust reflectivity options, ground and shadow intensity, so when you come to publish your presentation, it renders it to a high standard, creating a professional look to your presentations. Finally, in the Ambience tab, you can adjust environmental lighting. From here, you can change the source, exposure, and rotation of your light. Products is the area that displays the structure of how the product has come together. From a modelling perspective, think of this as the feature manager tree, where it has a list of the parts used to construct the assembly. The translation from the xDesign file to the xHighlight file makes it easy to follow the construction of your product, so other colleagues in your team can easily follow the method of how the product was constructed. Markups are where you insert in extra detailing of the product. This ranges from annotations, labels, and callouts. We will discuss this in more detail later in part 2 of this series. Materials are where all materials used in the product from the initial design stages are used and stored. You can access other materials stored on your platform, but we would recommend to establish your materials at the product creation stage. This is recommended as the materials translate themselves over when imported into xHighlight. Camera allows you to set focal length, targeted positions, and fixed camera orientations, so when you export out the final project in a video format, it produces a professional transition between scenes. This will also be discussed in a later part of this series. Properties are only active when you have a product, text, or camera selected. You can change the aspects of the product in the Properties pane to make changes such as changing highlight colour, render modes, and even changing the X, Y, and Z coordinates of the product position. These editing changes are discussed in more detail in a later part of this series. Next, we'll take a look at the action bar. This is broken down into 3 sections: Top bar, Markup, and Tools. Top bar is where all app-specific commands are stored when dealing with your xHighlight presentation. You have familiar icons such as Close Experience, Save, Save As, and Name. Towards the right-hand side, you have other functions. Global illumination is used to live preview render your presentation. It's important to note that you need credits in order to have this work when you're working on your presentations. Preview mode lets you play through your presentation in order of your scenes. This is useful for checking your scenes for their transitions, product position, and information captured in each scene. This will help when you come to prepare your presentation before publishing. Publish is where you export out different file formats for your final presentation. This is discussed in the final part of this series. Markup is where you can access commands to edit your scene. Although this is an option on the left in the Properties panel, having markup closer to your scene makes it easier to access commands such as Create Label and Create Callout. This will be discussed further in part 3 of this 4-part series of Getting Started with xHighlight. Tools transforms the elements in your scenarios. This contains common commands such as free drag, transform, and even explode options. These commands will be explored in part 2 of this series. To round off part 1, here are some useful shortcut commands you can use in xHighlight. Ctrl and A to select all, Ctrl and S to save your production, Ctrl and P to start preview mode, Ctrl and middle mouse button to pan across your canvas area. More keyboard shortcuts will appear across the series. Thank you for watching part 1 of this 4-part series of Getting Started with xHighlight. For more information on user interface, use the link in the description to direct you to the user assistance page. I'll see you next time for part 2, Basic Techniques.